Everyone, how are y'all doing today? It's Friday. Tomorrow's move-in. I am the full-time staff photographer for the Office of Student Life. So I service all 43 departments and 1,900 student orgs. Me and 6 student workers. So I was asked to talk a little bit about our workflow. So I am the third person to hold my position. All 3 of us have a photojournalism background. So we start with photo mechanic instead of using Bridge. Bridge is a great tool. I used it when I was in school. Photo mechanic is a little bit easier for a photojournalist as far as adding metadata and captioning for it. It's a little more intuitive. We import for that. You can also do all of your culling through it. So there's color coding. This is what, if you press number 1, it pulls up in the purple. Then you can sort by capture time and all sorts of other stuff. So we use the photo mechanic to bring everything in. This is what it looks like when you're adding all the metadata you want. I have it automatically saved and I just update based on events. You can then apply it to everything. Makes it super simple for us. And then if it's an event that I've shot, I bring it into Lightroom. But most of what I do is also marketing. So I do a lot of stuff in Photoshop. I just personally like the way the tools work better for me. It's not anything against Lightroom. I love Lightroom for fast event coverage. But if I know I'm going to go in and do anything additionally, I bring it into Photoshop. Easier straight up. So for headshots, lots of headshots. This is my mom, by the way, because I told her I was going to be editing it. And I was like, I don't want to use a picture of a client necessarily to talk about things like liquify. So we like to have the clients think they just look awesome and not that you've actually done something to them. So this is my mom. This is the before picture. She's 4'9". Her requests are always make me look thinner, younger, and taller. I tell her, I'm like, taller is the hardest one because I normally have to lay on the ground to make you look tall. But coolest thing that the updated version of Photoshop CC has that I love is Liquify now has a facial recognition system. So lovely things. You bring in your headshot and you're like, oh, I want to tighten everything up on the chin because every person wants everything to be nice and tight. So you can adjust everything from their face width, the chin height, their jawline. You can adjust their foreheads. You can adjust all of it. And it's a simple little slider. Makes it a lot safer to use so you don't accidentally like sneeze and have like all the crazy pixelations and all the weird avant-garde pictures that wind up out of that. Super simple slider. I tend to do nothing. I try to keep it really minimal because you don't want them to look at it and be like, you changed my face. And you're like, no. You just want them to look at it and go, wow, I look great. That's the best headshot ever. So I do very minimal. This is actually the after. I normally bring in the jawline and move the chin up a little bit, and it just tightens everything up. Then I normally go in and do skin softening. This is the bad skin softening. So you can see before, after. Yeah, that looks really plasticky. We don't want that. I have an action for it. Bought it when I was in school like 5 years ago. I just hit play and it runs it through. But this is what happens when you let it go at full blast. So I normally just take it in and bring down the opacity because it's all in layers. Another thing I love about working in Photoshop is it's all in layers. You can toggle them on and off. If you don't like what you did in that edit, throw it away and you still have your original image. So I normally like the opacity way down so it's not Barbie face. And then the before is on the left and the after. So it's very subtle. I don't want to do anything overtly like crazy. Again, I tell everyone who comes into my office for a headshot, my job is to make you look yourself but better. And they're always like, oh, that's what I want. I'm like, yes. Flyaway hairs, all that stuff. Just we're going to make you look the best you can. Other edits I love about Photoshop, content aware fill. I'm sure most of us are aware of it. It's really awesome to be able to get rid of light switches and those little things for marketing pictures. That light switch on the wall bothers me. Most people wouldn't notice it. I do. I just took it out. Super simple. Draw a circle around it. Content aware fill, which is Shift F5, and in 2 seconds it's gone. I also like things like color select and all that kind of stuff in Photoshop. Like I said, when I'm doing marketing pictures, that's what we wind up doing. And then my other favorite thing to do, if I have a dark picture like this, I like to basically make a dark vignette, but not the bad 90s versions of vignettes. using really subtle vignetting. So in Camera Raw, just start using the ellipse, draw the circle. I always make it on the outside, and then you can adjust the exposure and everything else. You bring it down just a little bit, nothing too dramatic, but it focuses your eye on the guy working out, and that is the final one. So that's the before. It's super subtle. You can really see it mainly up in the corners, just to damper it down, focus your attention to the guy in the front. And you can also do it on light ones. So bright day, I wanted to dampen down the building. Instead of sitting there with a brush and brushing it in and figuring it out, I just throw a circle around them and make it affect the outside. You can adjust the feather and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, those are my like go-to normal things. Any questions about what we do? Tips, tricks? Yes?
Who do you do headshots for?
All 43 departments that are under student life. So we do professional staff photos. We don't do student photos unless they're in an org that's going to wind up on the leadership wall in the union, but mostly we just do stuff for student life, which is a lot.
Manage digital assets.
That's a fun one. That's always our conversation. I would like to get a proper digital asset management system. It's something I'm working towards. Right now we use SmugMug for delivery and storage, and then we also have our server where everything is labeled, organized by year, month, event, all that kind of stuff. But within SmugMug, we have it broken down by departments, and then we have a separate one for marketing that's password protected, just for more things like the actual marketing shoots than events.
You mean both printing and then giving folks the option to purchase like a bit?
We do not, they don't buy from us. Everything we do is free.
Gotcha.
So it's all just a free download. So within SmugMug, the event will have a gallery, and we send that to the contact, and it's up to them to share. Yeah, SmugMug. It's great until you start getting thousands upon thousands of pictures, and then we play a lot of, hey, where is this? And since I've only been at the university for about a year, is a lot of me going to my boss and being like, gee, Randall, where's this picture? Do you know? So. Any other questions? I talked a lot. Quickly.
So what did you use before Lightroom? What kind of other things did you explore?
I always started on Lightroom. When I started school, that was where we started. I used Lightroom a lot until we got into Photoshop. I've played around with Capture One. I know you're going to talk a little bit more about that. That's a really fun one. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things you can do with that too. But yeah, mainly I've always been an Adobe girl. Played a little bit in Apple long before I went to school.
Is everybody using Adobe stuff? Or is anybody using, I know you're using Capture One, which is, I know it bundles with Sony, but I don't know where it's from.
It bundles with Phase 1 medium format cameras, but you can use it with just about any camera. Yeah. You can import pictures even if you're not shooting directly to Capture One.
I did a workshop with a fine art photographer back in Nashville. We do dance photography with him, and he uses Capture One, and he was using it as live view. It was great.
Yes.
So great. Yes.
What apps do you like to use to alter images on your phone?
I have all the Adobe ones on my phone. I'm very much a company girl. Like once I start with a company, I stick with it. Plus, then I don't have to learn anything else. I do some editing on my phone, not a ton, or with like random fun things when I'm like out shooting and actually like, hey, I remembered to take a picture with my phone, which is rare if I have my camera in my hands. But yeah, just stick with Adobe because they broke down Photoshop and they also have Lightroom on your phone.
Those are all free, right?
Yes, if you have a subscription, they're free no matter what, but there are certain advanced parts that you have to have a Creative Cloud license for. So things like clarity, I think it's the clarity slider, and I know dehazing you have to have access to the Creative Cloud for.
How many folks are using the Adobe apps? It's one of the things that we've talked about, the Adobe Rep. There's a lot of, I think it's kind of difficult to get to the apps sometimes, but when you're first starting out. So if anybody has questions about that, or if you want to start using it on your phone, that would be something I think we could talk about today, depending on what kind of time we've got left. So, any other questions? Okay, and please stick around because there'll be lots of questions at the end.
So just a quick one, how much do you wind up printing?
We don't print much. Our printing normally comes from, for something like this was for both personal training and the Jesse Owens North got some new equipment and they needed a shoot to show it off. So we combined the two so that we could use it for more things. Some of the pictures from this will wind up being used in print campaigns. It just depends on the client, but I would say 95% of what we do winds up being digital.
It just seems like the prints slow.
I know, and I love prints. In my office, my entire wall is my personal work that I've printed because I love physical prints. And if I could print everything, I would. It's kind of bad. But yeah, it makes you also think slightly differently because you don't necessarily think, okay, I have to have an 8x10. You can do weirder things with aspect ratios when you're thinking digitally.
When you do print, sorry, you sent them where?
I use White House Custom Color. They're an online lab too. I started using when I was in school years ago, and I just stick with them. They do really great work, fast turnaround.
And you use that for your OSU work?
Personal work. So when we print at OSU, we use Uniprint. Yeah, and then depending on if it's something that Uniprint can't handle, then they mark it in.
Like big,
yeah,
large ones?
Big stuff. They have another client, another company that they use. I can't think of who it is.
I've never printed through Uniprint. For those of you who have, can you share what kind of things they can do and their prices? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And are their prices pretty good? Do you not look at it because it's Uniprint's money?
It's comparable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can most of well.
You had a question?
Yeah. Does the university have access to or license to the staff that I don't know about?
Not that I'm aware of. Does,
So,
I don't-
we
I was
we
gonna
have
say-
our own Getty
yeah,
subscription, just that we manage, that's what we use.
yeah. And I know our office doesn't. We have not used stock images we just pull from what we have. Or they send me out and say, hey, we need a picture of this. Yes.
Are you allowed to take pictures of anything in Michigan?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, other than Beat Michigan Week when we have everything blacked out, but yeah. Yes.
What kind of permissions do you need to get for the use of your pictures from your subjects?
From my subjects, from the way that it was explained to me, as long as they're students on campus, we're fine with taking pictures of them. It was part of the agreement when they started school here that their picture may be taken when they're out in public spaces.
Parents do?
As far as that's the way I was told. It has not come up. I always have a stack of permissions with me in case somebody comes up to me and is like, hey, you're taking my picture, and I can be like, here, can you sign this for me as a waiver? But I've never had issues with it. We send students out on the Buckeye bus every summer, and we direct them as to who to shoot. People who are there specifically for the event are aware that we're going to be taking promotional pictures of it. But if it's at a business, we tell them, okay, that we're in this section, stay in this section, just for that reason.
So Joe, how do you guys handle that in your area? Joe is.
Well, a long time ago, we heard the same thing, that they signed something when they get here, and we worked, operated that way for a long time. Going into classrooms, labs, I go with a verbal agreement.
Right.
Like, this is to promote Ohio State, are you fine with this? Everything's fine. I've run into one situation where it was a child custody case where the parent did not want to say in front of her classmates that she didn't want to be in a photo.
Right.
So I found out later, please don't use this. But then regional asked us to track down the language of the thing the student signed.
Mm-hmm.
And we went around and around and around and around, and no one could find it.
That's terrifying.
We have run into that in a minor piece, for example.
Yeah.
We use some equipment like the Alumni Association. We had a photo we used last year promoting Football Fridays, the Alumni House and the Alumni Magazine. In that instance, because it was a minor, we had to go track down the parent, get that authorization.
Right. That's the other thing. We focus on students so much. We don't normally have minors. If we have a minor, we make sure we shoot them from behind, so there's no distinguishing factors to them.
Those are the ones we get are minors and patients.
Yep.
That's funny because I remember years ago when Gordon E. came back and like NBC News covered it and it was on campus. My kid was in the tape and no one ever spoke to me about whether I had released anything. And he was maybe 8.
Video is different than photo.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
news is different than something being used for a marketing purpose by far. Yeah. Because if you're capitalizing on it, you're capitalizing on their likeness, whereas news is technically, I guess, not capitalizing.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, they
Selling
capitalize.
And this might be going down a rabbit hole, but we also ran into sort of a similar issue. If you guys remember last year, there was the whole thing with Spielman and his likeness got into football players. At the same time, we had Eddie George on the cover of the Alumni Magazine. So there was, we kind of scrambled at that point because previous to that case, we hadn't really thought, beyond just, what Joe talked about, that verbal handshake sort of agreement. But I think especially when, any of you all are out, if it's somebody that, an Eddie George or somebody who is has that association with the university that could theoretically say, okay, you're using my likeness to promote the university, and using my celebrity and my likeness to promote the university. I think it's just better to cover your bases.
We've run into that too, using stuff from OUAB events,
Yeah.
because they bring in such big names. When we're doing something to promote even OUAB, we have to be very careful about who we show for the same reason, because they view it as, hey, you're using our likeness to promote yours, when we might not endorse it the same way.
All right. Anybody? Thanks very much.
Thanks.